Yeah, cool.
So today's topic is, what is happiness, and does success bring happiness? Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. So, um, how do you want to kick this off? You
Am I
want
lagging behind?
a little bit? Am I?
Yeah, a lot. But anyways, yeah. Let's kick it off like this. Let me give you a definition from psychology of happiness.
Okay.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. So according to psychology, happiness is about more than simply the experience of positive mood. In other words, happiness is people's evaluation of their lives and encompasses both cognitive judgment and satisfaction and effective appraisal of moods and emotions. So it differs from joy because we were talking earlier about joy versus happiness, even though the title's not that, but I think it's important to know the difference between happiness and joy.
Okay. So,
So, from that definition, what do you get from that definition? What's happiness to you?
well, wait. Read that. Read that again. Read that again. That was a lot. That was a lot to take in.
It was, let me just cut it down.
Mm.
Happiness is people's evaluation of their lives, and both cognitive judgments of satisfaction and effective appraisal of moods and emotions.
Okay. So it almost sounds like people kind of create their own happiness.
So
As
it's
it,
mental and emotional.
yeah. So how they view the situations that they face and experiences they experience when they digest it, uh, would determine how they digest it, would determine whether it brings them happiness or not. Am I correct? It does that make
What I'm
sense?
getting,
That or no?
what I'm,
Go on.
that makes sense. But what I'm getting from it is, it's a overview or evaluation of their current life situation, or possibly their life up to present day. So it's a it's a judgment on their cognitive mental status and their emotional status at that time.
Okay.
So it's like an analysis
Yeah.
of your
Yeah.
life up to present day, what position you're in emotionally and mentally.
Yeah. So
So that will
go on.
go on, go on.
No, no, go on,
Because
go on. So
both of
that will
you lagging. That's why.
go on. So that will.
So joy now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's lagging. It's always. But yeah. So joy is more of a physical thing where you can see when somebody's joyful versus when somebody's happy, because you can't diagnose somebody's mental and emotional state up to a certain degree, but you can't diagnose somebody's mental state. But if they're expressing joy, you can physically see that. You can see them smiling, you can see them laughing, you can see them jumping up and down, you can see them enjoying themselves. But when it comes to happiness now, you have to judge or assume what their mental and emotional state is. And we know that we can hide our emotions very well. And obviously, our mental state is within our own heads. Nobody can tell us.
Okay. So this is sort of connecting to a off air topic, off air conversation we had previously. That's why you're bringing in joy into it for those who aren't familiar. But so let me ask you this based on
Yeah.
that. What about? Do you remember the study I told you about the Buddhist monk in Tibet who is on record
Yeah.
as being the happiest person on Earth 2020. This is based on a brain scan they've taken of this person over the last 12 years. So it's not a short-term study on him. It's a good over a decade worth of study on this one individual.
Mm.
And
1 second. 1 second. I'm just gonna change headphones. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, so so that's based on a decade long study on that individual, on that Buddhist monk who has been gone on record to be the happiest person in the world. So how do you explain that? Because you said sort of like you can't really measure happiness based on what you read the definition of happiness to be. But this individual, it sounds like they've sort of measured his happiness levels or somewhat, or his brain activity and they've determined that he's happy. Um, yeah. So go on. Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I would like to know what method did they use to measure his happiness?
Yeah. Well, that I
Because
genuinely.
I can't really comment on it until
Mm, okay. Well, I
yeah, I
genuinely
can't
don't
really
know.
comment on actually get the information on how they done that.
Yeah, I don't know. But okay.
Did
So
they give
go on.
yeah, did they give him a brain scan? Did they watch the chemicals going through his brain?
I
What did they do to determine?
I believe it was a brain scan of some type, and they can see when certain chemicals are released in your brain. You know the happiness chemicals like dopamine,
Yeah,
oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, stuff like that. I think they could sort of see the
yeah,
release of those things going through his brain. So I'm assuming, but I don't know 100%. But for them to have uh, labeled him the happiest person in the world, I'm sure there was some kind of thing that they were measuring which correlates to happiness, um, chemically and emotionally, maybe. I assume, but uh, the interesting thing is. They didn't come and study me, so how has he been labeled the happiest person in the world, and they haven't studied other people to know? But I'm joking, I'm joking. All right, so
yeah, exactly. They didn't no, but that's a valid point. They didn't go around the world and study everybody in it. So to label him the happiest man in the world is just a bit.
exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like okay, pseudoscience, whatever.
But I do feel because okay, to go on to what the Buddhists define as happiness, or what their view on happiness is that happiness doesn't actually exist. Um, so their view is happiness as we think it to be is merely the absence of pain, suffering, struggle, uh, anything that sort of takes you away from your neutral position. So their view mentally is that there is nothing above your neutral state, mentally. But what we do in life is we create our own problems, which then brings us below that neutral state, that parallel state. And the strive for happiness really should be just the attempt of eradicating these these things that make us not,
Sufferings.
yeah, these sufferings, to bring us back to neutral. and there's actually nothing above it. It's like the definition of darkness. Apparently, there's darkness doesn't exist. Darkness is merely the absence of light. That's what some
of
people.
light.
Yeah. So it's almost like happiness doesn't exist. Happiness is merely um the absence of pain, suffering, and anything that takes you away from. That's and I can't I that resonates with me a bit more actually, if I'm being totally honest with you.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. That resonates much, much more. I think as we had conversations about this previously, I think that was kind of my point of happiness doesn't really exist. It's more of moments of joy and then you be in a position where you're content rather than this over sort of happiness where you're just jumping up and down and smiling every day of your life and you know what I mean? But yeah, and that's what I said. That's why I said joy is more of a physical thing people can actually witness by just looking at you. And happiness is kind of your own analysis of your current position.
Mm,
So I think, yeah, I think if you look under the definition of happiness, you would find contentment.
okay. Yeah, it's true to a degree actually. Because have you for people that this the success bring happiness element of it. Um, my straight up answer would be, although there may be slight correlations, I don't think success does bring happiness or long term lasting happiness. Um, have you heard of the hedonic treadmill? I think we talked about this offline. I don't know if you remember the explanation. The
Yeah, we touched
hedonic.
on it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, give it again.
the hedonic treadmill is this. It's it's a title for that feeling we feel when we've achieved something, whether it's a new job, promotion, whether it's we've gone up in financial status, whether it's we've acquired a new car, whatever it is in life that we create in our mind that we want to achieve. Once you achieve it, the hedonic treadmill kicks in, which is you get used to that thing. And whereas that thing once brought you what you thought would be happiness, once you achieve it, as time goes on, it becomes standard practice that you have that thing. It's now no longer a big deal, and then we strive to achieve something else. So it's like that constant chasing of the next thing. And once we get it, it becomes the norm, and we then don't get the joy or the happiness that it once brought us anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? That's what the hedonic treadmill basically is. Hence the term treadmill. You're just going around in circles chasing it.
Okay, yeah, I can. As you look at humans, you can see that that's the case, where we can never keep still. We always want to find something to do. We always want to find the next obstacle for us to overcome. And I don't think if we don't do that, are we living? Are we just going day to day, eating, sleeping, and so forth, just like animals? So we do need something to strive for us to actually feel like we're alive, to say,
Mm,
or to feel like we have a purpose.
yeah.
So yeah, so I totally agree with that. We always find whether it be problems or we're looking for more experiences to feel that joy or that happiness. So yeah, I totally agree with that. But with success now, it's very subjective because a man could be happy with just his normal 9 to 5 job. He's got his wife, he's got his kids. They're they're content. They're not struggling. They go on holidays every twice a year, and that could be his happiness or his idea of success. And then you get someone else, which one will call more ambitious, quote unquote, more ambitious, going for that job, going for that promotion, and not being happy with that and going for the next promotion until he reaches the big chair. And he won't see success until he reaches that goal. So it's very subjective, the idea of success bringing happiness.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Do you think? Do you think for a lot of us, society dictates or conditions us to what success is? Like we. So just to sort of tie in with the Buddhist monk theory again, is that these things that we're chasing, quote, that we've given the title of success once we achieve it, is it how much of it is really important in the grand scheme of life and existence, and long term lasting true happiness or true joy or whatever it is, like how much of it. So it just sounds like society tells you this is what you need to strive for, and you think happiness is there once you get it, and then you realize actually it doesn't bring me happiness, or the happiness doesn't last. So it's almost like society's telling us what to strive for, to be happy, as opposed to us really. Because see me, I'm the sort of person. Okay, whether I subscribe to happiness really exists or doesn't exist, I realize that whatever joy, whatever happiness, whatever contentment, whatever calm calm state I'm going to achieve is is within myself. It's not from an external source. Do you understand? Whereas I think a lot of people
Yeah,
put it on some kind
yeah,
of external factor.
yeah, and that's where it goes down into you saying that society gives you the idea of what success is. It's external, and what society tells you is success is celebrity status,
Mm,
being in that 5%, or even that 20% where you can call yourself rich because there's rich and there's wealth. So a lot of people out there see these footballers, basketball players, actors, actresses, and think that is happiness because they got the money to buy the cars, the big house, go on holiday when they want. So a lot of us get sucked into the idea of that is success. But as you've seen over the last few years, even celebrities are coming out and saying that with all their money, they're not really happy. Like having that status comes so many complications and unhappiness. We can see with Robin Williams, he was depressed for how long, and he was one of the most successful actors within his era. And you look at Jim Carrey, where now he's so quote unquote woke now, and he talks about what happiness is and this is all game and you know what I mean. So he's kind of not almost given out that celebrity status, but he's kind of said it means nothing. You know what I mean? It's just something that's come about by his talent, but ultimately none of that exists. We don't exist, and so forth. And you can look at his videos. His videos are very eye-opening when he talks about consciousness and our identity being false, and when your true self is unhappy with that character you're portraying to the outside world, gets tired, that's where depression comes in. So I advise people to watch these videos. They're very good. But yeah, that's what society does. It shows us this is what success is. this is how you should live, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, and it's all external. And if you're not strong-minded, you get sucked into that world. And obviously, we know a lot of us, or a lot of us, don't succeed to that idea of success, and that will bring a lot of mental issues.
Yeah. So to play to play a devil's advocate just for a minute, um, some would say, okay, cool, that's him. That's his experience of the world he's created for himself, or the world he's in, or whatever. But for every one Jim Carrey or one Robin Williams, who knows, there's so many others that are actually happy in that world. So I don't think it's a one size fits all. That I think
Yeah, that's what I
that's the
said at the
ultimate.
beginning. It's subjective.
Yeah, exactly. It's
It's
what you.
opinion.
So we're not. No, just so people know, we're not
Relative.
sitting here saying that life ain't going to bring you happiness. It may do, but just I think my overall point, and I think your overall point as well, is just don't if you're not happy getting there, I think once you're there, you don't expect happiness to just come and slap you in the face and say, "Hey, here I am. You achieved me. Like I was here all the time, and now you've reached here. Here I am." I think a lot of the time, if you're not, it's like that view of money in it. People think money is like the worst thing in the world, the cause of all the problems, but it's not really.
No.
It's if you're not happy, um and we're not talking. I'm not talking about extreme poverty, but I'm just talking about if you're not happy in yourself without money. I think when you get money, you're still not going to be happy within yourself. Money isn't the problem, but it's also not the full solution. It can definitely help, but it's not the full solution. And I
Yeah,
think,
it's a tool, isn't it?
yeah,
You can
exactly.
use it to minimize your suffering, because we know a lot of the time the reason why people are unhappy is because they're lacking in resources, and money is a resource you can use to pay your bills. That's something you don't need to worry about. Put clothes on your back, something you don't have to worry about. Keep the roof over your head, that's another thing not to worry about. You know what I mean? And then once you've got the necessities out of the way, then you're okay. You can say, yeah, I'm now content and I want something more. But majority of us are suffering, like you were talking earlier about suffering. So
Mm.
yeah,
And the problem, no, and the problem is exactly what you said. Like once, what people don't realize is once they've covered their basic necessities, food, shelter,
mm,
water, clothing. Um, but the problem is that's when the hedonic treadmill kicks in, because like
yeah,
now I've got that. Okay, cool. That's a given. That's a standard.
mm,
Oh yeah, everyone's got that. I want this now, and then I feel as though that's where the cycle begins. So I've just come up
but
with. Go on, go on, go on.
so yeah, but I don't think that's an issue. I don't see that as an appropriate. Out of that can arise certain issues, but once you get that initial suffering out the way, food, clothing, and shelter, what is wrong with wanting more? Do you understand? You've got those issues out the way now, and you can only go forward and create your own problems. I think from that point on.
But that's my point. I agree with you, but that's my point. That once people have those basic necessities out the way, they do go
Yeah.
forward and create their own problems. So from
Mm.
that point is where they start putting barriers in front of themselves that unless they jump over they're not happy. Do you get what I'm saying? So that
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is create goals, not problems, and that's the issue people probably have. Is they subconsciously create problems for them to overcome instead of creating goals to
okay.
overcome.
Nah, see, let me backtrack a second, because goals, whether you want to call it goals or whether you want to call it problems, I'm kind of bunching it all together and just saying, listen, whatever it is that is the next step for you in your mind, be happy in your quest to achieve it, but don't think once you achieve it is where your happiness is going to come from. You you've covered your basic necessities, right? Now always come back to this point and say, um when I was at this point, was I happy? I've got a stable roof over my head. I've got clothes on my back. I never go to bed hungry or thirsty. Um, my loved ones are okay, etc. Like that. All See, I'm just talking about what I do. I always come back to this level point and say, once I've got this, anything else that is the next step for me is nice, and I'm gonna try to achieve it the best I can. But it's not. I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna sacrifice my joy, happiness in the process of acquiring it or getting there. And anytime I do sort of lose, and it's interesting because I wanted to ask you what you do to block out the noise of society and stuff like that. But I'll ask you that in a second. But anytime I get caught up in that noise and that hype that I've created in my own head as to why I want to reach that point there, I always have to check myself and come back to the basics and say, listen, I've got all of this sorted. So I need to check myself in my quest for this, because it's not really a problem. It's not really it shouldn't really make me unhappy. It shouldn't really take away my joy. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the point I'm trying to
Yeah,
make.
yeah. And I think that's a good thing to do as well. And not a lot of people do it. That's why I said sometimes subconsciously people create their own problems in the sense of they're in a position of happiness, and we know that humans can be self-destructive, so they might create certain
Definitely.
issues within their relationships. Do you understand, their friendships, instead of actually setting goals to achieve certain things. So that's why I said it's touch and go, and that's why I disagree when you say you want to bunch them together,
Okay,
because it's
go
so
on,
many
go on.
different aspects within it. Like I said, they start self-destructing because they have no more goals now. Do you understand? Like they have nothing else they can strive for because they got no hobbies. I don't want to say their ambitions low, but they've reached a point where they can say, okay, I can sit back and be cool now. And then the mind gets bored, and the mind starts creating issues, and then you start overthinking. Like,
Okay, I get you. I get you. I get that angle you're coming at from. You're talking about the idleness. That, like, once you become somewhat idle, the littlest things become, all right. Not to be bad and not to be ageist, but you see some old people that are retired now. They've got nothing to do, so
mm.
they pick the littlest fights, or they get annoyed by the littlest things. Like,
I know
but
things, yeah.
that little thing is such a big deal to them now because there's nothing else going. I get you from that standpoint. I was looking at it from the other standpoint of whether it's a goal, whether it's I'm sorry, okay, I'm looking at it more from the act, from the losing your joy, or losing your joy or your happiness or whatever it may be, that your contentment, because you so desperately want this thing, and like, or you so desperately want this car, or you so desperately want this house or this job, that you're now looking at what you currently have side-eyed. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you're looking
Yeah,
at
you start looking at the house like, this is a shit
yeah,
house.
yeah, fuck this house, like, uh nice 3-bedroom house, but you're now looking at a 4-bedroom.
Yeah.
I was looking at it more from that point of view as opposed to, but yeah, yeah, you're right. Okay, so my I came up with, so I come up with some solutions in my mind of how to fight against that, to a degree. It's not
Mm,
foolproof, but it's just my own. So one would be like, when you achieve something that you're aiming for,
mm,
with the view that at some point that thing's gonna become the norm, and you're going to get used to it, and now and then look for the next goal or next target. You shouldn't you should delay your gratification of achieving that thing it that you've achieved. um so I'll give you an example. If you get a promotion at work, you're on more money now. So you've gone from 50k salary to 75k salary. You was on a 50k salary living like you was on a 40k salary, because that's what you should do. You shouldn't be living at a 50k or
Yeah,
above.
in theory, yeah.
Yeah. So now you've gone up 25k salary. It's natural you're going to increase your lifestyle, and
Yeah,
but don't bump it up so quickly to even a 65k salary now that you're on 75k. Delay the gratification, delay the increase in whatever it is that you've amassed. But
yeah.
on the flip side, because in my view the hedonic treadmill works the other way as well, where when we inflict pain and suffering on ourselves, um in some kind of way, we actually get used to that as well. So
That's why I was talking about the self-destruction.
okay.
Because if you're used to something that gets embedded into your psyche,
Hmm.
and sometimes that's from young as well, and then that's all you're used to. That's your comfortable zone.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that becomes your default setting, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
and no matter what you do, you're always gonna go back to where you feel more comfortable, which is in that suffering. That's what I said.
Mm.
Humans can be self-destructive,
Yeah.
where happiness or joy feels so alien to you, and you feel so vulnerable. You want to go back to your default setting and feel that suffering because that's where you feel
Yeah, yeah,
cozy,
yeah,
comfortable. Do you understand?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what I said. And a lot of us are like that, and that's the issue. Like, there's not a lot of people like you where, like you were saying, once you reach this part financially, store for a bit. Do you understand? Don't just get excited and start over expending what you actually your income is. But a lot of us, we're on our wages, but if you look at our outgoings, it's more than our income, and that's for a lot of us. So because we're already at that default setting, once we go up in wages, our outgoings increase, and we're always playing catch up until we get into a position where we're like, okay, I need to kind of rein this in. My bank balance is looking a bit stupid now. You understand? And that's the maturity, and that's the financial literacy that we need as well.
mm, yeah.
So I thought, yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
Um, so talking on the flip side of that, so let's
Yeah.
say you experience a loss of income.
Mm.
The key is actually to do the reverse. So the loss of income, the key is to immediately drop. So whereas the increase in income is a you should slow progress yourself way up. When
Yeah.
you experience a decrease, you should immediately drop to the lowest point,
Yeah.
because what you don't want to do with the hedonic treadmill is you don't want to, from a negative standpoint, you don't want to prolong your suffering. You want your suffering to
Yeah.
be,
In theory. Yeah.
in theory, yeah, in
In
theory.
a rational mind. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course. Everything's easier said than than done, but in the ideal world, you don't want to. So let's say you lose 10k salary, and we'll only talk about money. It's just the easiest example I could give, but this is not about
Yeah.
money. This is about any situation, so to speak. Um,
Yeah. But it still runs with our conversation of success because a part of success is having resources to
correct,
look beyond
correct,
your basic
yeah,
wants and
correct,
needs.
exactly. So the longer you prolong your suffering, the worse it's gonna be for you. So the best, see, what a lot of people think to do is, oh, let me cut out one or two things,
Mm.
because it might things might improve where I then don't have to let go of that, and that. So let me just get rid of the least things possible. But nah, the key is to eradicate everything to your lowest point, because then once your lowest point becomes your default, remember, anything that you achieve over that now is bonus, is a plus, and then you can start turning your emotional state around to a more positive outlook. Whereas if you're prolonging the decrease down, everything you lose at, like, at different points, is you're ripping, is hurting you. Do you get what I'm
Mm.
saying? So it's like when people say, "Oh, just rip off the plaster, man. Don't do it
Yeah,
bit by bit. Just rip it,
yeah.
just
Rip
rip
the
it all
plaster.
off,
Yeah.
bruv."
What the thing is, if you think about it, a lot of people wouldn't even do that. They would be like, okay, this is, unless they're in like dire straits where they're like, I can't make my next payment of rent. People normally don't do that. They will probably look for another stream of income, look for a second job. Instead of lowering the outgoings, they rather try to increase
True,
their incoming.
true,
Do you
true.
understand?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what the issue is. And then they run themselves into the ground because, like you said, they're striving for that house or that car.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So instead of them looking at their finances and say, okay, what can I cut out? They don't want to cut nothing out.
Yeah,
You understand? They just want to increase that income.
that's it. But that's why I said earlier that I always go back to the four basics that you mentioned: shelter, food,
Clothing.
clothing.
Yeah.
You can somewhat throw transportation in there if you want, but even then,
Yeah.
for me, transportation is a grey area. Because listen, I grew up walking everywhere, fam. Like, so for me, if if worst case, I've got my 2 feet. I can walk to work
Yeah.
wherever it may be. Like, it's a, how much do you want to do it? That's the question, in it.
Mm.
But as long as you got your main, so people that I don't know. So let me ask you a question then. How do you shield yourself or guard yourself from what society tells you success is, to what success should be? Do you have, okay, you don't need to tell us what your measurement of success is to you, but whatever it may be, how do you guard yourself from others coming you and painting different pictures of success to you that makes you maybe deviate from what, what I mean, like what you've already set out in your
Yeah.
mind to be success? What's some of your methods?
I'm not gonna lie. It's a struggle. I wouldn't say it's a day-to-day struggle, but now and again you have that fight within yourself. Like, do I want that, or do I want what I set out for myself? Do you understand? Because it is difficult, and for me, I look more for freedom than money. You understand? I want to be in a position where I can go where I want, when I want, work when I want, and be able to not work when I want. I don't want that idea of I'm busy 24/7 because my job is so demanding, but yet so rewarding that I have no time for anything else. So all I do is concentrate on what I want for myself because that's the most important thing. It's not what other people think you should be or what success is for you. Um, I just constantly thinking about what I want. It's not. I don't think there's any sort of method to it, or it's that complicated. If you know what you want, you can just go for that and just keep that in your mind all the time. But I'm not that really. I'm not really influenced that easily. And I find it quite easy to just stick to my goals.
It's no, it's interesting you say that because I think I think a lot of people feel they the same as well. Now, personally, I know you, so I know what you're saying is the case. Do you get what I'm saying? But there's a lot of people I know that would say exactly what you just said. But when I look at their lifestyle, I see where they're doing things, and this not me judging. I'm not the greatest here. Like I've got my
Your
own
opinion.
flaws, and I've yeah, exactly. But I look at their lifestyle and I see where what they're doing is taking away from what they've just said their mission to be, which is financially free. So we're gonna do anyway. You know, we've discussed this. We're gonna do a financial um discussion at
Podcast.
some point,
Yeah.
podcast in one of our next coming ones. But just to touch on what you something you said. So for example, like you mentioned, you want financial freedom. I think you want freedom. Sorry, but
Yeah.
obviously to acquire that freedom, you have to have a certain level of financial
Funds.
free yeah finances in
Yeah.
order to
Financial freedom, or
exactly
then actual being in that 5% or
Ye-
that 15% where you can call yourself wealthy or rich. I want to be comfortable.
yeah.
And obviously, you need the resources to do so. So you need your income to be at a certain amount for you to be financially free.
See, this is where I say a lot of people need to be careful because
Mm,
it goes back to what you said earlier, which is a lot of people look at it as an acquisition of more finances, where a lot of it can be achieved, not achieved, but you can
you
get
can
there a lot
overcome it. Yeah.
quicker by
Yeah, a lot quicker.
limiting a lot of your current expenses, or
Mm,
you know. So it goes back to what the Buddhists say is the strive for happiness. There is no happiness, but there is actually everything you do is taking you a little bit further away from the same thing
exactly.
you're saying that you want to achieve. And it goes the same way financially, in the sense of um sometimes we take on more outgoings, but we say we want financial freedom. We have
Mm,
things in our lives that's taking money away from us, but we say we want financial freedom. Do you get what I'm saying? And this not you personally,
yeah.
like because like I said, I know
Yeah.
you're somewhat what I would call almost a minimalist,
Mm.
where you don't you're not influenced by
No, I'm not really a
things.
materialistic person. And
Exactly.
that's the thing. I think being a person that's not materialistic, your outgoings can be so low,
Mm,
and your what's the word I'm looking for? Your oh man, blank. But yeah, your wants are much less than your average person.
yeah.
Because everybody wants that fast, that car. They want five cars. You know, you drive one at a time. You know what I mean? They want that six bedroom. You're going to sleep in a bedroom at a time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I don't need that. Because what's the point? I just see it as a waste.
Exactly.
It's a waste of resources. It will pollute more. You don't need that much land because that land could use for somebody else's house and things like that. You know what I mean? So I do try to be a minimalist. I can survive on just food, clothing, shelter. But now and again, who doesn't like to treat themselves now and again?
Of
But
course. And
I'm the person like when my birthday comes up or Christmas comes up, people are like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I don't need nothing." You know what I mean? I don't want nothing. There's nothing that you can buy me that I'm like, "Oh, I really need that." You know what I mean? So yeah, it's very easy for me.
yeah. Shoot. My for me, I think my way of blocking out the noise, and I'm very mindful of saying this because I know we all have blind spots. So we all it goes back to like what you were saying. What we the picture we paint of ourselves in our heads is sometimes not actually.
Yeah.
99% of people don't see the actions behind who we think we are in our head. But I do like to think that I'm not at that point anymore where I get influenced by society so much. But how I do it, I think I said this to you once before, is mate, I block out a lot. Some would say run away, right? But I literally run away from a lot of noise. Like I won't. There's so much that people will send me videos, people will send me stuff, people will like talk about things, and if it just doesn't resonate with where I want to go mentally
mm,
or emotional, whatever, I literally run away from it. And it can be a bad thing because like who why are you running away from shit? Just watch it and deal with it, or
just
watch it
face it.
and yeah, just face it. But I always, honestly, I always ask myself, do I have to, two, why? That's my question for everything that I'm presented with is, do I have to do it, and why? And if I don't, if I don't have to do it, or the why is not a big enough why, I genuinely don't do it, bruv. Like I don't like people promote credit cards and stuff like that. Bro, I'd stay away from that stuff. I've got a credit
Mm,
card, but it's so minimal. I don't use a lot. I don't live off of it. It's just
mm.
it's I don't know. Just but I
But
but I've
but
learned.
you know that obviously it helps your credit and your credit score.
No, of course,
Yeah,
bro.
but people don't see it. Yeah,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
don't obviously you know about that, but people don't see it as I'm betting on my credit score. They just want to live outside of their means. You know what I
exactly,
mean?
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I've come from that world though. Me and my boys talk all the time, and I used to be one of the people that would just buy something for the sake of buying hype. It's like that, buying it through hype.
Mm.
So I don't knock anyone who does that, but um yeah, I just moved on from it. I run away from things, bruv. Yeah, we got a comment from Michael, my boy Mike, man. This guy is one of my best friends. So he's one of my,
Tyrone's boy, huh?
yeah, he's one of my best
I
friends,
was
man.
looking at the surname. I'm like, who's that? I'm just thinking like, who's
Oh
that?
yeah, Ty.
That family.
Hey Mike. This Tyrone's more a Morrison as well, isn't it? So boy, somewhere you lot might be related or had the same slave owner. I don't know, but anyway, great convo and content, guys. I missed the start, but I think gratitude and perspectives are crucial. 100%. Perspective in terms of what you want to be and achieve, not looking at others. Gratitude, not beating yourself up. Be grateful of where you are and the experiences that you have learned. Discipline is so crucial. Mike, 100% agree, man. I agree with you. Gratitude, it goes a long
Yeah,
way. Um,
I think that's a valid point. He says discipline is crucial. I think discipline is the most important part here. You have to be disciplined when it comes to finances
yeah, but
or
remember, we're talking about
your
happiness.
goals and dreams.
Yes, but let's stick to happiness. So when we talk about happiness, I think gratitude is the biggest piece. I genuinely think gratitude is the biggest piece. See, at one
Yeah,
at one point, I don't know if you do this or you ever did it, but gratitude journals. You know what they are? Innit?
yeah, yeah. I don't do that, man.
You do that now.
No, I don't. No.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you do it. I did for a while. I did gratitude journaling every morning over breakfast. I just write things, just the most trivial things that I'm grateful for, bruv. And you know what? There is a power to one writing things down. Um,
Mm.
not just thinking it in your head, but actually putting it on paper. It actually does something different. It adds something to the way you connect with things. But yeah, gratitude journal. I was doing that for a while, and I need to get back to doing it because I've noticed my emotional state is I've kind of plateaued, and if anything, I'm on my I think I'm on my way down. So I need to pick myself back up with certain things. But definitely, it helped. It helped.
What? This is not going to be like a counselling session,
Nah, go
but
on, go
do
on.
you think? Do you think? What do you think that is? Do you think that's because of the times we're living in with COVID?
why my emotional
Or
state, why I feel my emotion. No,
yeah.
do you know what? Honestly, I'm glad you asked this because I've started letting more things in that I wouldn't normally let in, and I'm talking about.
Negative things,
Sorry,
negative things, or
just just everything. Things that when I was on my game, things that I wouldn't get concerned with because I can't control them. They have no
mm,
bearing on me. They have no. I can't influence it, so I choose to leave it alone. Things like that, I've started to allow myself to have an opinion on it and to speak on it. And
mm,
for me, I like. I think we've had this discussion, and I know where your view on this is. Yeah, with emotional
but
maturity and that,
can't you have
but
can't you have
bro,
an opinion and without being emotionally invested in it?
honestly speaking, I haven't got to that state yet. I haven't got to that point. It's a journey for me, but I see. I wouldn't say I've done it off the back of anything you've said. Right,
Mm, mm,
my decisions are my decisions based on me. I choose to do
yeah.
stuff, but I did think. You know what? I did think I was at a point where, yeah. You know what? I could talk about this. I can have an opinion on that. I can have a debate about that. Um, and I've realized I can't. I can't because I get too invested to the
Mm,
point where I start attaching my identity to that particular thing, and I'm not good. I haven't got myself to a point where this is why I said earlier on. I actually run away from things. That's my solution. Is to anything that's not gonna progress me, not going to add to my happiness or life or whatever. I run away from it. Like I ignore it. I run away from it. I'm using these words, but it's not of it literally like run away. But
no,
I
no.
just avoid it. I
If it
avoid it.
doesn't, yeah, it's like you said. If it doesn't, if the why is not big enough, and if you don't need it, then why indulge in it?
Mm,
I can understand that, yeah, and that's probably the best way to deal with things. Sometimes with me, I can have an opinion on things. I can use myself as an example, but after we have that conversation, I've already forgotten about it. Do you understand? Like if you're not that close to me and you're not within my circle, and I just meet you probably at work or on the street and or on social media, and we have a conversation that has a possibility of getting there, kind of personally or emotionally, I can go all in. But as soon as that conversation is over, it's dead to me. That conversation is dead. I'm not really that much invested in it. But on the other hand, if it's somebody I care about, who I love, then maybe it's a possibility I might not get involved in it. If I do, then yeah, obviously being human, you're going to get emotionally invested in it. It might have an effect on you. But outside my circle, I actually enjoy having those conversations with people, as you already know, and I
mm,
can shut off that emotional tie to it. And I think a lot of the time that upsets people because I'm not invested as much as they are.
mm. But do you not feel as though it leaves some kind of residual effect on you? Like I'm of this view, yeah, that every conversation, every interaction, um, every person in your life that you choose to engage with at any given moment, it leaves something on you. It leaves a mark. It leaves like it could be the most trivial. I could get a happy birthday message from someone who is not in my circle, not someone I care about, whatever. Just that little happy birthday text or WhatsApp or whatever, it leaves something last on me that makes me think that person needs to be upgraded in my life, in my view, because for them to have in my head not mean anything to me, but for me, for in their head, I meant something enough for them to take message time out to message me. So it bumps. I just think every for me anyway. This is why I run from a lot of things or deviate or whatever or leave a lot of things alone is because I think every interaction means something, and if it doesn't, I shouldn't be having it. That's like, okay, let me sum it up like this. I hate small talk. I genuinely
Same.
despise small talk. I hate when people just call me just to have a pointless chat. Like, I don't like it because
Yeah.
it's like, what are we doing? Like, are we what are we talking about? Like, where's this going? Alright, cool, nice. So I hate small talk, and for even more so because I know it's just leaving something on me which is not gonna do anything for me. So
Yeah.
this might sound really selfish to some people because that person might really genuinely just need to reach out to me to say, you know, and that's cool. But from my point of view, I don't like it. So
Yeah.
I used to have a reputation, bruv. My friends used to say I never pick up the phone. Genuinely, I never used to answer my phone, bruv, because it's just if you're just calling me just to talk small talk, I'm not interested. But yeah, so I
Yeah.
just go on.
Yeah. I'm the same. Like, especially at work, obviously we interact with so many people. I literally get anxious or so awkward when people want to just talk for the sake of it. Like, if you don't have a subject for us to actually go deep into, I don't want to talk to you, and I normally don't talk to them. I just do what I'm doing, and
Mm,
people just think, "Oh, you stush or whatever the case might be." But I honestly don't want to talk about the weather or football.
mm,
Do you
mm,
understand? It just doesn't stimulate me. So I'd rather just not talk to you. And I think 95% of the people on my phone only have small talk. Do you understand?
mm.
Like, I don't want to do it. I find it awkward. I'd rather have a subject so we can go into it. Let's argue a bit. You know what I mean? Let's stimulate each other's mind.
Yeah, you see, I don't
That's
know. You see, I don't like that.
that's the type of
I don't like.
if it's not banter, if we're not
Yeah,
cutting each other,
yeah,
or if
yeah,
we're not going head to head intellectually, I don't need it.
yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. All right. That's cool.
But yeah, what's your we kind of went off topic, but what's your idea of success? What you strive for? At what point are you gonna call yourself successful? Or do you call yourself successful?
That's a great question. You know, honestly, my biggest desire, I think that the one thing that would make me feel as though I've succeeded is for my kids to be financially, I wouldn't say financially free, but I want my kids to be able to start off their adult life not having to worry about finances, not putting financial issues ahead of what they really want to do, regardless of the
You
finances to do it. Do you understand what I mean?
you
Does that make sense?
you want them to have like a couple of steps in front.
Correct, correct. So much so that they feel they can actually go for what they want to go for, as opposed to going for what they have to go for because of
Yeah,
finances. So
feel the
yeah,
pain. Yeah,
and the problem with, but see, the problem with that is there's no number for that. So although that is what that's my deepest desire, but I always ask myself, how will I know where if I've when if and when I've achieved that? And brother, I got 4 kids, isn't it? So am I trying to do it for all four? Like, am I trying to do it for all 4 of them?
just
And
pick
if
your
I
favorite.
and if nah, I ain't got that, man. And if I don't do it for all 4, is it like, do you know what I mean? So there's
Yeah,
so
are you
many
gonna label
questions.
yourself a failure?
Exactly, and not even that if I manage to do it for 2 out of 4, are the other two good? Like, all of these things go around in my head, but for me, the success element is nothing really to do with me. It's to, like, my biggest. I just want them to be all right. That's the thing ultimately. And yeah, it's sad. It's sad in the sense that it doesn't. Some people look at me. It's like I got brethren that think I'm not enjoying my life. Yeah, because I don't
Mm,
go out all the time or whatever. They don't realize that the going out all the time is the things that actually don't bring me a lot of joy
joy.
anymore.
Or,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all, but I just don't need to be doing it every weekend. Like it's just I enjoy it more when I do it every once in a while, actually, and that's what sometimes a few of them don't get. Is like
Mm.
me not going out every weekend is not me sitting in the house depriving myself. Oh, I really want to go out, but the door's locked. I can't go. So I don't want to
Right,
go. Yeah, I don't want to go out. Like, but yeah, yeah. That's I think for me that's success, man.
I, I guess like we were talking previously, I think it's down to what stage in your life you're at.
Yeah.
Because if you're a parent, then your perspective on life changes. It's more about your kids now than your actual self, and that's the position you're in. What then you get parents that actually have kids, but they kind of still concentrate on themselves. They still want to have that fun. They still don't want to let go of their prior years. They still want to reach that younger years where they can go out on the weekend on a Friday, get drunk. Do you understand? So
Well, the thing,
it's
go on. Sorry to cut you.
go
Go
on,
on.
go on, no, go on.
Nah, the thing is, see, for me, I don't judge. I don't look down at that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because i- just because you have four kids, one kids, or no kids, it doesn't mean you should have reached a certain stage in your life. What I
Mm,
mean by that is where my mind has reached after having four kids. Someone's mind could reach there without even having any kids.
yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
it's still the same stage mentally, but different
mm,
different timestamps in their
yeah,
life.
and that's my point. Yeah,
Yeah,
stages don't come at certain ages. Stages come where you're meant to be, where you
correct.
actually are at. So yeah,
Correct. I
like
get you.
I'm like you. I don't really like going out, but I don't have
It,
kids. Do you
yeah,
understand? So I'm
exactly.
kind of like you, where I will go out every so often to enjoy it more than go out every single weekend.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
understand? And I don't have kids yet, so yeah, I totally understand.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
talk about wisdom or experience. It doesn't come with age. It
Mhm.
comes with what you've gone through and what you've learned
Yeah,
within your lifetime. So you can be a very young person in your 20s and feel like going out all the time it's a waste of money, wasting your time. You can create businesses, you can better relationships with family, friends, other ways. You can do so many things than just going out and getting pissed. You understand? So yeah.
yeah. But I mean, where I say I don't look down on that because I actually have a close brethren, very successful in his life. He still loves doing things like he's in his 20s. Like, I don't know his situation. So his kids could be fully set up to how I want to set up my kids,
Yeah.
and that could be already taken care of in his situation, and therefore allows him his opportunity to continue living like he's in his 20s. I don't know that. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I just personally, I'm of the mindset, look, I live and let live in it, but just don't think the life I'm living is a life that I don't want to live, but I I'm being forced to live or something like that. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you do
Yeah.
you, you enjoy yourself, and just because you are going out every weekend or every other weekend, it also doesn't mean you don't have your life in order.
Mm,
You might have all your priorities set. So I just don't think there's any right or wrong. It's like we started off saying, success is it's all about, it's subjective. It's
yeah.
what you strive for in your life, and that doesn't make it you any more successful or less successful than someone who has a
Then
different.
no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think it's like you were saying about the monk. What was it? The monk where what you do is minimize suffering. I think it's all about finding that balance
mm,
And once you find that balance, it becomes much easier to be happy. You understand? I think what people should take from this is trying to find more moments of joy than sitting there and analyzing, are you happy?
mm,
Because
mm,
when nobody, or most people are not in a position of complete happiness, in the sense of they're not in a position where they're emotionally and mentally where they want to be, which is a major part of happiness, like we saw in the description of what happiness is from a psychological standpoint. Find moments that make you joyful more than you sitting there and analyzing, is your current position making you happy? Because the more you try to live in the present day, the more joy you'll feel and the more you'll reach that idea of what happiness is. I'm not saying to neglect your goals and ambitions, still strive for those things, but try not to sit there and put too much pressure on yourself and say, okay, I haven't reached this point yet. And you start thinking, oh, I'm a failure, blah, blah, blah. It's like, put things into perspective. You're in this position, you come from this far,
mm,
be grateful for that part. Do you understand?
mm,
Like it's a marathon, not a race, 100-meter race. Do you understand?
mm.
These things take time. So while you're on that path, which is a long road, find moments of joy. And I think people would be much better off if they did that.
Okay, so this is it's interesting because you once said to me, you've never been happy. Um, and
Yeah, 'cause I don't believe in that idea of what happiness is.
I, I get that,
Mm,
but so I'm I'm slightly different in the sense that I'm my I feel happy within myself. Like
mm.
I think for me, my
What does that
defaults.
mean?
You're gonna say is content. I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say it's content. No, no, but
Don't
no.
make assumptions,
All
man.
right. Well, no. So on. Okay. So let me. What does that mean? I want for nothing. The fact that I want and need for nothing brings me a certain level of happiness that I don't. See, for me, I don't. There's nothing out there, and there's
Mm,
nothing anyone can do to make me happy. I believe that I have to be happy within myself. I have to be content. I have to be grateful. Um, I have to remember what blessings I have in my life, what I've achieved, and what I have to remember everything I've been through to not put any more pressure on myself or to not create more issues in my head as to because I think we can all find is what you said, we can all find reasons to say I'm not happy, or we can all find reasons in our lives that things are not exactly the way we want them to be.
yeah,
But I think when you can separate yourself from those things, I think that's where true happiness comes from. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like
makes sense.
when I can realize that, how can I say it? All right, when I can realize that, all right, cool, I don't have a Ferrari. Okay, cool, I don't. But when I can recognize that I don't have a Ferrari, yeah, cool, I don't have a Ferrari. I can get upset that I don't have a Ferrari, or I could choose to be happy that I don't have a Ferrari. Like it's a lot of things that happen in people's life is about perspective.
It is.
What do you want to look, how, what angle, what lens do you want to look at this through? Do you want to look at it from the lens of you're not going to be happy about it, or do you want to look through the lens of, okay, cool, it's happened, but I can take this out of it, I could take that out of it, and I could be happy that it happened because I've learned this, or I've acquire this knowledge. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's my default setting. It's just everything I look at, I try to take the good out of it, no matter how bad the situation is.
Yeah, and what you just said again, it goes into the definition of what happiness is from a psychological standpoint. You've taken control of your own perspective, which from that it has a effect on your mental and emotional state. So you perfectly fit within the definition of what happiness is, which one is contentment. You're not looking outside of yourself to be happy. It's all within because, like you said, it depends on what how you look at things. You can look at we can both look at the same one thing,
Mm.
and you can see it.
In a
Is that
positive
in the
light,
cup?
yeah,
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 in a positive light or a
uh,
negative light. Is the cup half empty or is it half
half,
full?
yeah,
Do you understand? It's down to perspective, and nobody's in control of your mental faculties but
exactly,
you
exactly.
and your emotional state but you. So that's why I wanted from the beginning to separate joy from happiness because happiness is about up here.
Mm.
Joy is about your physicality. People can actually see when you're joyful. Do you understand? That's why I gave the example of Robin Williams. On the outside, he was joyful. Do you understand?
Mm.
But in the inside, he was unhappy.
Mm.
And like we say, what's there's a saying about they say when they talk about depression, the most happiest looking person could be the most saddest person.
In the room, yeah,
You
yeah.
understand? In the room, because like I said, joyful is a physical thing we can both acknowledge, we can actually both see. But happiness is your emotional mental state, which you only have control of, and nobody can see what
Mm.
you're going through. So yeah, 100% down to perspective. And like you said, you're content. You wanted to run away from that word, but you are content. There's nothing that you want initially, apart from what your goals is for your kids.
Mm. Yeah, no, I agree. You're right. You're right. I just want to encourage everybody to just, like I said, remember, always come back to the four basics: food, clothing, roof over your head, and whatever fourth one you want to chuck in there. But it's if you've got those four settled, then everything else is, I don't know, it's
A
like
bonus.
a bonus. But I must say though, do you okay? So do you believe the ultra successful people, as society's
Portray them.
definition of, yeah, as yeah, are never content, never happy? I,
I don't think I can speak on that because they might be so busy within their lifestyle. Like let's use actors for example, or even people in the music industry or sports. They have very minimal time to actually enjoy what they've achieved. In the sense of let's use footballers for example. They're constantly training away on competitions. They get very little time with their family. Do
mm,
you understand? Like it's like look at the fixtures. Like they play so many games in one season. When do they get time to enjoy that money or to enjoy the things that they love, like their family and their kids? So I can't really speak on that
but I
because
think,
again, it's down to perspective. That's an individual thing, and only they can answer. But
yeah,
on the outside, yeah, people like yeah, they must be happy. They got all that money. They're famous. They must be happy. So I'd be very naive to like comment on that and say yeah they're happy when I don't know what's going on in their life.
true, and not just that, the ultra busyness of the 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 industry they're in sometimes is what actually makes them happy. Sometimes that's what, so you know what you said about not seeing their family, but I'm not saying that they don't want to see their families, but I'm saying that sometimes their joy comes from doing what their
What they love
profession,
to do.
yeah, more
Yeah,
so than you know, some people, a lot of people say that when they're at home not doing like off seasons and that, they're very unhappy, like their partners want them to hurry up and get back onto the season to start, to get them, because they're so miserable being at home not doing what they love.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right, you can't call it actually, because
And I don't
again,
see
that
it
might be their
as a
measurement of.
balance. And I don't see it as balance. You should be happy with spending time with your family versus your job. You should be able to. That's why I said it's very difficult to find that balance. You should be happy in your job and happy at home.
Yeah,
If you're in a position where you're only happy when you're at work, then
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
why did you have that family in the first place? Just because society tells you you should get married and have kids?
true.
It's a bit weird to me.
It's interesting because according to Google, the happiest country in the world is Finland, and in Finland they have what we would call a almost a perfect work home life balance.
Mm,
um I think they work 4 days a week, and I think there's a certain routine for a lot of them after work. They there was something I read, they go out, have a few drinks, or do some kind of socializing, they go home,
mm,
they spend a set time with their family, they then go out with their family and do like a community thing, like you do some kind of
mm,
charitable work or something. There's something
mm.
about the way as a nation they're set up in that. Yeah, ultimately, I
Yeah,
guess.
their society has strived to have that balance as well. A lot of the Scandinavian countries have
Yeah,
done that,
yeah,
where they've and they're probably the most developed societies as well, where they've tried to make things
mm,
so balanced, people are happy. And I think there was a conversation over here about making our workday,
four
was
day
it four
week.
days a week, which would be amazing. I think you have more productivity as well. You have people with less depression. I think that's the way to go, to be honest. I
Uh,
think they put down the blueprint and they can see that it's working as well. So why not?
yeah,
That's another conversation as to why maybe America and this country wouldn't do such a thing like that. But yeah,
cool. So, anything else you wanna add?
no, I don't think so. No, I think that was very fulfilling.
Richard, Mr. Morgan, you're awesome too, bro. Thanks for your
I
comment.
second that.
Yeah, Richard, I noticed I haven't seen you on the roster anymore. I think you got a promotion or something, or you've nominated off, but
Is that Richard Morgan?
yeah, from work, he's not on the roster. But
I think he's moved.
is it? I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm never there, but I think he has. I think I heard it somewhere. But
Cool.
yeah,
All right,
let's
cool.
close it out. So thanks, guys, for joining us again in our was it fifth
Yep,
podcast. Um, hopefully our next one will be too long. We would have to have a discussion about what that would be. I know what you want it to be, but we'll come to some sort of agreement as to when we'll do that. But
cool.
thanks again, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, people. Thanks, Ty. I'll catch up with you in it.
That's shot, Jay.
All right,
Peace.
peace.